Hey folks, this as part of my third in the series of Halloween spooky ones, I wanted to do a video on ghosts or spirits or whatever. And my question to you is: does anybody out there believe in that, and how many of you do? And leave comments if you've ever had any encounters or ever lived in a place where you might have experienced something like that. For myself, I know my family, has lived in a number of houses. We're a military family and Army brats growing up, and we lived in base housing and off-base housing, and like I said, a lot of different places. Some of them older ones, and I know my family at different times told us about, or told me, because I was the youngest, about places they lived in that were maybe had weird noises, weird sounds, or maybe they saw something. But for myself, the only place that I have lived in personally that had anything going on was when I got into my teen years. My parents moved us into it was a 1700s farmhouse, and the old frame house really, and on a big piece of land near the ocean, one of the earlier settlements in the town of Wells, Maine, actually. And growing up, because I spent all my probably early to late teen years anyway in the house, and I know living in the house, we did experience a few different weird phenomena. And the house had been lived in by a family that shall remain nameless, but they had lived there since the place had been built, and the family, and the one thing that a lot of us had seen over the years was the figure of a woman, and I saw it several times myself, but I mean, you'd be maybe sitting a lot of times in the living room area, and there was a room that was kind of an adjoining room between a bedroom and where the hallway bathroom was, and another bedroom, and you would see a figure going through that room. And it was always, for me personally, it was always a woman in some type of like white or off-white gown that was like a floor-length gown from like head to foot, and it was hard to make out particular details. It was always really quick. She would walk either from one side or to the other, left or right, and it was fast. And you'd think it was a person. It would, it was so distinct and so clear when you saw the figure, but the details, of course, were indistinct. But you like I said, you'd see it quick, almost like something fleeting, like you might see out of your peripheral vision, and you'd look up and it'd be like gone, but you were sure you saw it. So I used to, when I saw it, I'd get up, I'd go into one room or the other to see whether, because I had sisters that lived in the house, and my mom lived in the house, and I'd always go look, especially if I thought somebody else wasn't home or something at the time, and I would would get up and look, and you wouldn't see anybody, and certainly not dressed the way this person was dressed. It looked like they were wearing either an older type dress, or maybe a nightgown, something like that. And I saw it on many occasions. I couldn't tell you how many, but many. And and different people that visited the house sometimes would see it and they'd say, "Who was that?" And you'd be like, "Who was who?" But my mom saw it many times. Different, like I said, various people in my family reported seeing it. And like I said, that it was nothing like, you didn't feel like it was anything malevolent or anything bad. It just seemed like there was something there in the house, something left behind by somebody that had lived there. And the other thing that you would see sometimes was outside, and this was more rare and also odder, but every once in a while you'd see again, for me, like when I saw it, it was always like a female figure, but walking by outside one of the windows out in the backyard, and you'd be startled. You wouldn't be expecting to see somebody in the backyard when you weren't expecting to see them, and if you went and looked, there was no one there. And the house was a long house. It was because there was the house, the main part of the house, and then there was an attached barn and like a storage area that were all attached together. So if you added up the length of the house, it was quite long. And someone would be walking towards the barn, which was the longer area, and there's no way that a person couldn't run that fast. So you're walking through a fairly large field, but they'd just be gone. And so it was, whatever it was either people were seeing things, or it was something that was supernatural, which I firmly believe it was. But like I said, it was something that many of us saw over the years. And one of my nephews, one of the weird things was one of my nephews, who is now a grown man, and he's actually in his middle years now. He talked to me one year. We were just sitting around shooting the shit, and he said to me, he said, "Do you remember that?" He said that you might have seen something when you were younger or something like that. He goes, "Have you ever?" He said one time I was talking to Grandma, and he said I saw someone go by the window, and as soon as he said it, I knew what he was talking about. And but he said that he said, "Who was that?" like to his grandmother and my mom, and she said, "Oh, you saw it too, huh?" And of course, he had no idea what the hell, because he had never heard anything about that, and so he said she never really explained, other than to say, "Oh yeah, it's people see that, it's something in the house," and so but he said she never really explained it. I don't know why, but anyway, I got talking with him about it, and I told him, I said, "Yeah, a few of us had seen." He said, I never knew that." He said, "I just remember that, like, I had seen this, with a woman going by," and he said she never really fully explained what it was. And I was like, "Yeah, that's." So, like I said, that was pretty much the extent of what people would see. Is, like I said, you would see the figure of a female walking around the house once in a while, usually in one particular area or another. She kind of confined herself to certain favorite areas, apparently. But one thing that I really remember, and was kind of for me, it was a really kind of an odd thing that had happened, was one of my sisters had joined the Army Reserves, and she was, I believe she was in the Carolinas, but I can't remember. And it was she was away in basic training, and so I know she was having a rough time of it. She sent several letters home and talking about how rough the it's always rough. But anyway, so she was having a hard time dealing with it. I'm sure she was homesick too. She was young and she had just joined up, and so at the time I was working. I was doing bar backing and all kinds of stuff. I was working at an NCO club at the time. So a lot of times when I was coming home late at night. This was in my late teen years, early 20s probably. And at the time, my mom was starting to get sick and everything. But I used to, a lot of times if I came home, I'd stop in, say hi if they were still awake. And sometimes, my parents would have already gone to bed. And so I'd just be coming in, going to go to sleep myself. And I remember this one night I had come home, and my mom had already gone to sleep, but she heard me come in, and she called out from her bedroom, and she said, hey, is that you, Mike? And I said, yeah. And I came to the door of my parents' bedroom, and my dad is asleep, and she's, just laying there in bed talking to me. And so I said, yeah, it's late. I just got in, and I'm kind of just telling her I got home safe. And as I'm talking to her, I heard this really tremendous crash upstairs, and my sister's bedroom was right above my parents' bedroom. And there was my sister has always been an avid reader, and she had a really large trunk in her room, and above the trunk, sitting on the trunk, was a lot of books, mostly paperbacks, but a lot of books. And I knew she had them piled up there, and it was probably like a 4-foot stack of books, multiple stacks on top of that. And what I heard very distinctly was the sound of all of those books. And you just knew the sound, when you heard it. All of those books tumbling off of the trunk and falling on the floor. And so when I heard it, I was like, what the hell? Because I knew she wasn't there, and I knew there was no one that would be in her room. And so I was young and fast, and I went up the stairs real quick. I left my parents' bedroom. I just kind of said to my mom, what the hell was that? And I hot-footed it for the stairs and went, racing up the stairs. And I went, and I was sure I was going to see all of the books scattered all over the floor, because that was the sound. And certain sounds, and so I obviously something had fallen, and a lot of things had fallen. So I raced up the stairs. I flung open her door, and I went inside, and the room was completely intact. Nothing was disturbed. Nothing out of order at all. And I walked around the room. She had a fairly long, large closet. I walked over to that. I turned on the light in the closet. I looked in there, looked to see if there was anyone in there. I glanced under the bed, nothing. So that was the one incident that happened. And like I said, you would normally never hear things like that. It was weird. It was almost like, somebody was occupying her room while she was away. And what got weirder was after like a few days later, I remember, and this happened more than once, but I remember there were certain things that she had in the room. Like I know she had under her bed, she had a suitcase, and she would sometimes, if I'd come up the stairs and I was talking to her or whatever, sometimes she kept papers and things like that in there. And in this particular suitcase, it was more of a storage suitcase. And so if she wanted to access something when you were talking to her, she would go over and pull that out. And you could hear the sound that the suitcase made when she slid it out from under the bed was pretty distinct. And one time I remember I was in the house. I don't know if I was alone or but anyone that was in the house was all downstairs, and I I heard the sound of that suitcase being pulled out. Like, you hear that, it was a hardwood floors, and I heard the sound of the suitcase being pulled out on the bed. I knew the sound. And so right away I was like, yeah, there's no one supposed to be up there. So I went up the stairs quickly and opened the door. Nothing disturbed. The suitcase was not pulled out. Nothing was removed or taken or whatever. And for the rest of the time that she was gone in Army Reserve training, every once in a while I would hear either that sound or some sound that was similar to that, like somebody was in her room, occupying the room in her place while she was not there. And it was spooky. And I joked with her when she came back. I said, I don't know whether it was because your will to be back out of that, basic training and be home again and be in your own safe environment was so strong that it was like you were projecting yourself into that place, or what it was. But something was occupying the room while she was gone. Like I said, it was like, I don't know. I believe it's possible somebody maybe, is thinking so strongly of, like wishing they were, because I know she told me when she got home, she was like, yeah, it was, so rough at times. She said, I'd be, doing stuff and thinking to myself, geez, I just wish I was home and in my own room, having a cup of tea or just relaxing, reading, whatever. And so again, like I said, that was another thing that happened. I've never experienced anything like that other than in that house. So whether there was something else that was in there that was like trying to fill in the space while she was gone, or whatever it was, I can't explain it. Never have been able to. And like I said, it's been kind of a running joke with me and my sister that she was actually projecting herself there, but who knows? If anyone has any theories, I'd be interested to hear them. But that's the only other place, and I've lived in a few other places since, and I've lived in places before then. I never had anything like that, any kind of experiences like that. But yeah, like I said, it's just a couple of little stories of my ghostly experiences. And I do, like I said, I do know, different people in my family have told me, my parents and relatives have told me stories of like, ghost stories, but I've never had anything like that myself, other than what I'm telling you, and what I maybe related with the other couple of videos that I did. So that's it. Like I said, please feel free to leave comments. If you would like, and if you really would, I mean, subscribing is great. If you would, and I hope to make plenty more videos. I hope you enjoy them. I hope you're curious about them. Feel free to share. Feel free to comment. You can tell me you're nuts, whatever. But I've been told that before. But anyway, so like I said, if you would. It helps to support me if you would leave a like and subscribe if you possibly could. But thank you very much for listening, and I hope to post more. I do have some stories that my dad used to tell me about when he was younger and things like that. And I've got plenty of other material that I plan to put up in the coming days, weeks, whatever. So yeah, like I said, if you would, please do leave a like and subscribe, and thank you very much for listening. I do appreciate your support. Thank you very much.